Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for a movie that may surprise you that I'm reviewing it here. It is more of a thriller than anything, but I do also do videos about that as well here on the channel too. Not just creature features and slashers. Slashers are technically thrillers, but you know, whatever. This is a movie that I saw when it came out on DVD. And I loved it. It upset me back then, it upsets me now. This is officially a hidden horrors movie review because it's something that I think is realistic and it can happen to you. It can happen to anybody, especially with the times we live in. This is a 2007, unrated cut by the way, movie from James Wan. The director of so many things, the creator of Saw, the creator of The Conjuring. He's involved with so many projects, Fast and Furious, Aquaman at this point. James Wan is an amazing talent in film, and when he was doing horror, like creating Saw, I think this was the year after Dead Silence, or the same year as Dead Silence, he made this little Kevin Bacon, small budget thriller involving gangs, involving revenge. It's actually based on the series Death Wish. It's actually based on the book, the actual original sequel book, that was kind of its own standalone story as far as I know, from the original author that wrote Death Wish before the movie was adapted from it with Charles Bronson. This film is called Death Sentence. Dude, let me tell you, if you love revenge movies, you need to watch this. This is one of the best kind of lower budget movies that you will ever see in that subgenre of horror, thriller, whatever you want to call it, but it is a realistic film. It is shockingly sad, shockingly heartbreakingly sad. It makes me cry every time I watch it. I probably haven't seen this film in over 10 years, but the style, the nature of it, the filmmaking aspect of it, the performances from everybody are so great in this movie if you haven't seen it before. Basically, Death Sentence follows Kevin Bacon as a dad. He has a wife, he has two sons, and the oldest son is a hockey player in school, getting ready to go off to college. And one night after a game, he and his oldest son go to a gas station that's kind of in a rough neighborhood, let's say. And while he's there, he isn't paying attention, and a bunch of gang members pull up after they just had a small encounter on the road with these guys. One in a beautiful, I think it's a Chevelle of some sort. I don't know, it's beautiful. It's red, bright cherry red. This was at that time, around Fast and Furious being popular for people my age, that cool cars usually meant bad guys or people doing things illegally. But anyway, they have a red Chevelle or something like that and a black Mustang with red flames on it. They both look so badass. These guys jump out in this gang, probably like 6 people, something like that, and they're doing a gang initiation with ski masks on where somebody has to, in the group, if they want to join, they have to kill a random person, and they decide to pick out this store and kill some random person. This time around, one of them uses a shotgun to kill the clerk at the desk, or the counter, and the other person uses a machete to kill the main character, Kevin Bacon's oldest son, right in front of him. Kevin Bacon runs in, he bumps into the guy who actually did it, he pulls his ski mask off, sees the identity of this young man, who turns out to be the younger brother of a guy who is the kind of leader of of this gang that drive these awesome cars. They leave that kid behind, the kid has to get home somehow, some way. Kevin Bacon gets kicked by the kid, and still after that, the kid runs away. He tries to get up, run inside, and take care of his son, who has had his neck slit, who's bleeding to death. And he has to basically rush his son off to the hospital. The son doesn't make it, and it sends Kevin Bacon into this revenge mode. But dude, it gets so much worse, because the things that happen to Kevin Bacon after he starts this war, when he goes out for revenge amongst that main kid, who it seems like by the court system will only get like 3 to 5 years in prison for murdering his son right in front of him because Kevin Bacon was the only witness. He decides, fuck it, I'm gonna go out and get my own revenge on this kid. And like I said, when he attempts to do that, it becomes way worse. The whole situation gets way worse. And I'm telling you, even as I talk about this movie right now, I get chills talking about it. It's one of those films that, despite its budget, making it look a bit ugly, this film is not aged beautifully in the look of it. Despite those problems and those flaws of this film, Death Sentence puts a chill down my spine every time I watch it, because this could happen to you. This could happen to me. This could happen to anybody. Gangs are real. Gang violence is real. I used to live in a really bad neighborhood and grew up in one, kind of, that has gotten worse over the years. A lot of meth labs, that kind of thing, floating around. And I was thankful that my friends and I grew up in a part of that area where we didn't have to deal with that as badly yet. Nowadays, it really is that kind of thing. But Death Sentence was so badass. Kevin Bacon gives one of the most amazing performances I've ever seen him give in his career. I'm a big fan of him. I love Stir of Echoes. I love Hollow Man. I think he's a great actor. He's good all the way back in his little tiny role. Not even a cameo. It was one of his first roles in Friday the 13th. He's a wonderful actor, and this movie really proves that. If you love revenge films, you have to watch this. But be warned, they use practical effects in this film, and it is bloody. It is a bloody film. Your jaw will hit the ground if you have not seen this before. The amount of violence in this, and a little bit of CGI enhancement for certain scenes, like shooting through a wall or anything. That stuff was awesome, and it was unheard of, by the way, shooting through a wall in movies at that day and age. We had never seen much like that when this movie came out. And it was so unique as a revenge movie. Personally, this is just me saying this, I love Death Wish 1 and 2. I've only seen those first two out of that 4 or 5 movie series. I do own all of them right now, I believe. I think. Do I have the first Death Wish? I don't think I do. But it's been a while since I've seen those first two. I will tell you, Death Sentence is easily my favorite of that kind of movie. It's possibly my favorite revenge film of all time. I think it is so powerful. And the music, the score made for it with this kind of like one-person orchestra, I assume, maybe two-person orchestra. It's made by the guy, the composer at least, is the same one who did the Saw franchise. And you can hear notes of that in here. And that music is just chilling. It adds this kind of real gloom to this movie about this family dealing with their loss. But let me talk about the gang real quick. Everyone cast there were really good. Mainly the main guy, I think his name is Joe Darley, the one whose younger brother was spotted by Kevin Bacon, had his mask pulled off. This gang wage war on Kevin Bacon at that point when they figure out who he is, and watching them try to hunt him down and figure out where he is while he's just coming home from work one day or leaving the office one day is tense, man. The tension builds so well in this movie, and it's just unbelievably sad. You wouldn't believe how depressing this movie can be until you see it for your own eyes. It is gut-wrenching sometimes. Like I said, it makes me cry. Every time I've ever watched it, I cried this time watching it because of how engaging it is. But that main guy who plays the lead, bald-headed, crazy nutbag that leads this gang, the Darley gang, whatever you want to call them. I don't know what you call this gang, but that main leader, you would be surprised, apparently is the youngest brother in the movie Four Brothers with Mark Wahlberg and Andre 3000. And Tyrese Gibson, of all people. He's the one guy who gives an amazing performance, one that he just became somebody else for this movie. If you've seen Four Brothers, if you've seen this guy in some other stuff, he is like a different person. We're talking like Heath Ledger Joker type of performance here. He is so frightening and scary. The look in that guy's eyes is just chilling, like I said. He's magnificent. I've watched this movie and Four Brothers a million times throughout my life, and I've never realized that was the same guy until I did some research on IMDb. But yeah, he plays that kid Jack from Four Brothers, the one who's kind of weird, who listens to a lot of music, he loves guitar. He's amazing here. He's so freaking scary, dude. Anyway, I don't really have much more to say about this movie. It does look a little wonky after not aging the best with not the highest budget ever. If this was made in like the 80s or the 90s, it would look way better than what it does. But it's kind of one of those movies I grew up on, like Grave Dancers, another horror film I reviewed for this channel, that hasn't aged the best in the look of it, but the concept, the execution, everything else they were able to do with the performances and the practical effects and everything in that film are extremely impressive and so recommendable. I say the same thing about Death Sentence, despite it not being perfect. It is amazing. It's such a great film, and again, it's a hidden horror that is more on the realistic side than a monster side or anything like that. It's something that will haunt you once you've seen it, and it'll make you weary when you see this movie and go to certain areas sometimes to get gas late at night. Don't ever do that. Don't ever be the idiot who stops at a gas station at night, bad neighborhood or not. Don't be the person who does that. You're asking for trouble. This is such a terrifying film, and I love it. But Kevin Bacon, man, you just can't help but root for him. You can't help but root for you know, his one son who didn't die, who is just feeling like he should have died because he feels like his dad and his mom, like his older brother who died, more than him. Dude, the characters are so well realized in here. They nailed it. For an hour and 45-minute runtime, which this felt more like an hour and a half with the pacing. The pacing is killer, by the way. There's also another actor in here that you'll know. John Goodman is in a very small role here that kind of becomes a bigger role, but not like a team-up type of thing. It's just interesting how they play him here. He's very intimidating here. He's probably one of the most intimidating performances I've ever seen from Mr. John Goodman, obviously from things like Romance, Roseanne, so many other things that you'll know, like Red State from Kevin Smith. He's a great actor. I love John Goodman, and he's exceptional here, too. Anyway, Death Sentence. Have you guys seen this film? What do you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments about it down in the comments section down below. I'm sorry for giving you a lot of reviews here and there for hidden horrors or big reviews and stuff that are not really anything more than like a revenge type of thing. Not really a horror movie, but dude, this is horrific. This is so realistic in so many ways that I can't see you watching this and not being frightened by it a little bit. A little uneased by it, if you will. It's terrifying. But it's magnificent. And the stunt work in here, too. There's a lot of stunts that have to get done in here, even though it's not an action movie. And I'm going to tell you, certain scenes, like this one involving a parking lot, like one of those building parking lots where you go around in a circle to get to the top or bottom, that scene in particular, if you've seen the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. Do not watch the trailer because it will spoil that moment for you. Dude, that scene is white knuckling. It is horrific how scary this movie can be sometimes with the tension, and a lot of it taking place during the daytime too makes it all that much more surprising, I would say. Death Sentence is iconic. I recommend it highly, and I cannot believe people have kind of just pushed this off to the wayside like they did with Dead Silence from James Wan and don't really talk about it. It's so perfect and masterfully made. I just wish everybody would watch it. It's magnificent. But anyway, if you're a horror fan or more of a thriller fan, you need to check this out. It's an absolute hidden gem that a lot of people that are younger than me, I don't think have ever heard of this movie, more than likely. If you happen to be younger, I'd love to hear if you've ever heard of this movie before, because it is wonderful. Anyway, if I had to rate Death Sentence from 2007 on a 5-star basis, I'd probably give it like a really high 4 out of 5 stars. It's not perfect enough to give it a 5, even though I really wanted to go into this review giving it that. It does have flaws due to age, but when it came out in 2007, every friend I showed this to loved it. Between the muscle cars, the gun shooting, the gore, the practical effects, which we were starting to phase that out a lot at that time. Dude, it looks so good. It's a great movie. Anyway, check it out if you haven't seen Death Sentence. You owe it to yourself. Like I said, I've never seen the theatrical cut. I've always seen the unrated cut, and it's a pretty violent movie, so just be ready for that if you haven't seen it before. Thank you all for watching, guys. I'd love to hear everything you have to say about my review and Death Sentence down in the comment section down below. Just let me know everything you think. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.